Hello. So, just a moment here. Hello. I'm here because I don't have anything better to do. Actually, yesterday I was at a planning meeting for the European International Conference of Secular AA that will be happening on June the 19th. And while there, somebody said, I haven't really seen a lot of this being promoted on social media. So I thought, okay, let's do a little info share on Facebook and give people an opportunity to learn about the conference and ask any questions that they have. And so, what I thought I would do is just kind of go through the program and explain what is happening and then answer any questions that you might have that you can either put into the chat in YouTube or Facebook, or you can call in at our toll free number. And I'll go ahead and scroll that now. Now, I invited Joe, but I don't think I was really clear in my invitation to him that we were actually going to be doing this now. He might have thought that we were just going to talk about it and do it later, but generally, I don't talk about shit. I just do it. So, anyway, let me go ahead and get the banner going there so you can call if you do have any questions. So, yes, there will be a conference, and it will be the first ever European centered conference of secular AA, and it will be on Zoom, and it will be taking place on Saturday, June 19th. It will go from 11 o'clock a.m. until 11 o'clock p.m. UK time. So that would be 8 hours difference in the Pacific time zone, 5 hours difference in the Eastern time zones, and in Australia, 9 hours difference. So I would recommend that you Google the time difference so that you can figure it out. But it's 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. UK time on Saturday, June the 19th. And the conference will be held in 2 rooms that have been donated for this purpose. One of the rooms is donated by the Beyond Belief group in Toronto, and it will be called the Beyond Belief Room. And the other room was donated by Tus Nua, the Irish group, and that will be known as Room 1, the Tus Nua group. And different activities will be taking place in each room. So the first thing that will happen at 11 o'clock a.m. in room 1, which will be the Tus Nua room, is simply an AA meeting. It'll be a French-speaking secular AA meeting that you can attend, and it might be fun whether you speak French or not, to go to that meeting. And at the same time, in room 2, the Beyond Belief room, at 11 o'clock a.m., there will be a welcome to the conference by the Secular AA board. So you'll get to meet the people who sit on the board, who put the conference together, and give you an opportunity, I guess, to ask questions and have them answer them. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen here so you can actually see the program. And you can go to the website. I will put that up as well, the Secular AA website, and you can read all about it there. There you go. So so there'll be a welcome to the board, an introduction to the conference at 11 o'clock a.m. in room 2. Then at 12 o'clock p.m., there'll be a public information hour discussion meeting that will be hosted by Karen M. and Barry B. That will be in the Tus Nua room. I don't know exactly what they're going to be talking about, but it'll just be about public information. And at the same time, in the other room, the Beyond Belief room, there'll be an AA meeting that you can attend. It'll be hosted by Vince Hawkins. He is an author who's written some secular type recovery books. So anyway, he actually lives in Spain, and so he is going to be running that meeting. And then at 1 o'clock p.m., if I'm going too fast, let me know. But please, if you have questions, throw them at me. At 1 o'clock p.m., they're going to have another AA meeting. It'll be the Secular AA Ireland meeting. That will be going on. And the topic is going to be the importance of listening. And that will be hosted by Annie and Declan. So that'd be a good meeting about the importance of listening. And then at the same time, at 1 o'clock, will be the Tus Nua Free Thinkers meeting hosted by Jimmy. Okay, so you're going to have two meetings going on at the same time. One of them will have the topic of the importance of listening, and the other one is going to be a regular AA meeting. I don't know what their topic might be. Then you're going to have a secular Al-Anon speaker at 2 o'clock, and that will be in room 1, talking about the importance of having family groups that are formatted secularly. And that will be hosted by Angie A. And that will be in the Tusnua room, as you can read on the program there. And at the same time, in the other room will be a Polish AA meeting hosted by Bogdan. Bogdan actually attended the Toronto conference in 2018, and if you've listened to any of the tapes, there was a meeting at the beginning of the conference where people from all over the world who were at the conference got up and spoke for a couple of minutes. He spoke there, and he also had written something that was contributed to AA Agnostica sometime. So, really interesting guy, and it's really cool to hear about how AA started in that part of the world in Poland. Then what else we got going on is Sam Samworth. He is related to he worked at a prison in England called Strange Ways Prison, and he wrote a book about his experiences there, and he has a lot to say about how the experiences of drug addicts and alcoholics behind bars, and that should be pretty interesting to hear what he has to say. So that's quite a catch. I had not heard about him before, but from what I've read about him, he does sound pretty interesting. I have not yet read his book, but I do look forward to reading it to learn more about what he has to say. But that would be the Neil Samworth. And then at that same time, the Glasgow meeting from Scotland will have a meeting going on in the Beyond Belief room, and that will be at 3 o'clock, same time. Boy, so you keep moving. At 4 o'clock p.m. will be a Greek meeting. Oh, here's Joe. Yay, Joe is here.
Oh,
Hi, Joe.
I was sitting there. I didn't see the enter studio button.
Okay. Well, I was just saying that I wasn't quite sure if you knew that I invited you or if you just wanted to talk about it first. And generally, I don't talk about shit. I just jump in there and do it. So here we are.
Yeah, I am good that way too, right?
Okay. So I was just kind of rambling going over the program, and you know more about all the stuff that's actually happening. So you might be able to fill in the details. I was just kind of reading in a very monotonous way what happens at each time. But do you want to kind
Yeah.
of describe the conference overall, Joe? Like, give us a little background. How did it come about? Whose idea was it? Why are we doing it? Um, can you just kind of fill us in a little background behind the conference before we go into the details?
Well, there's a little bit of American centricness in AA, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It was born, of two American
Right.
founders, just sort of everyone dreams of being this country's president and, every boy, all right,
Right.
so and even like the World Conference of AA only leaves continental USA once every 20 years to go to Canada. And it's never been to Europe. And I don't know why not. And, to Americans, they might think, suck it up because, this is AA, right?
Yeah, and we're
And
Americans and we're like that, aren't we?
yeah, well,
Just
um,
kidding.
yeah, no, no, no. It's because of their experience, and their
Yeah,
experience is AA is growing in the United States of America.
right.
In the last 20 years since the turn of the century, um, uh, it's up double-digit increase in members. So their group is larger than it was before. They don't see any problem with the way they're doing things. But in other parts of the world, Canada is down,
Hmm.
double digits in members. There's
Hmm.
less members. AA is free, and it's less appealing than it was in the year 1999. And in Europe and the rest of the world, even larger decline in
Oh,
membership.
I never knew
Now,
that.
this might be migration. Maybe they're at She Recovers and LifeRing and
Mm-hmm.
Dharma Recovery and Smart Recovery and NA, right? If
Right.
they're tired of having people bitch about their dual
Right.
diagnosis or their multi-poly drug use, they find a home in NA, and that's fine. But if we're not answering the call because people think AA is out of date or something, what can we do? And so this conference is going to be, as much as we can, sort of a breath of fresh air of what AA is and can look like. We have the UK to thank for the God word, atheists and
Mm-hmm.
agnostics. That was something we could not do in Canada and the USA.
There are some
There
people
were
that say we have
11
them to blame
attempts.
for it too, so that's okay.
Yeah. No,
Just
yeah, and that is that's great. That it was
yeah,
an obvious thing to do to
yeah.
the British General Service Conference. Oh, you guys need this? Do you need it? Uh, oh, you say you do? Okay, we'll print it,
Yeah.
right? And it was done in one conference cycle, and we've tried since 1978 to do it here, and then a bunch of us rallied around to get our General Service Conference to adopt that, and we were overwhelmingly successful. It was the right time.
Yeah.
And now it's in 3 languages. And I read in the World Conference report that a woman from the Czech Republic really needs it to be in more than 3 languages because
Mm.
her newcomers, mostly young people, never went to church. And, you know, where church failed them to find a supernatural higher power, AA isn't going to do any better a job. So she wants to offer them an alternative. And so it was time to leave the sort of geographic constraints of Canada, USA. So we went to Europe, and we're going to have meetings in Polish, French, Greek. Honestly, I wish there was more,
Mm-hmm.
but this is the first international from
Right.
Europe, right? I wish there was sign language and
Mm.
interpretation and an opportunity for anybody from any country to tune in and hear what they need
Mm-hmm.
in their own native tongue. And but that's for the planning committee for the
Yeah.
next thing. But yeah, it's very diverse in language. It's very diverse. It's got BIPOC meeting, Black, Indigenous, people of
Oh,
color,
interesting.
LGBTQ, and a multi recovery panel of people in and out of AA who are just part of the larger recovery community. And they're also doing a great service to AA locally and internationally, and that's a public information meeting where they're actively
I was wondering
inviting.
what that was going to be about. What are they going to be doing there?
They are inviting, people from law enforcement, medicine,
Oh,
professionals to come and learn about secular AA because
interesting.
we're the best kept secret in recovery, I think.
Yeah,
I mean,
interesting.
remember in December, we had a couple of guys from, oh, I'm sorry, I forget
Mm-hmm.
the name of it, but it's a treatment center that does outpatient care in the Washington
Oh yeah,
area.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he was so apologetic that in his, I think, 30 years of being in the
He didn't know about
industry,
secular
he didn't
AA.
even know there was a secular AA until he was asked to come and speak. But now
Yeah,
he does,
yeah,
right? And so there's one more engaged person who has an option for the number one objection he gets from his constituents, his clients, his patients, whatever he refers to them as, is
mm-hmm.
I don't know if I want the religious stuff, but everyone knows AA the brand in the Washington area, and but to offer it, to be able to overcome that objection,
Yeah,
it isn't going to make sobriety any easier because we don't have some better way of getting sober. We just have a legitimate way of getting sober without higher power, or at least without a supernatural higher power. And you know, with or without the steps, with or without the classic literature, AA is working, and we're growing, right?
yeah,
We see that, right? The secular community is on fire,
yep.
and so it's so fantastic that this is going to happen. And the time thing will make it very difficult for North Americans to participate in a big way. But remember, we get up for soccer games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Europe, football games for the, world the World Cup every
Right.
4 years, right? And so I'm going to be up
Yeah.
at it'll be like 3:30 in the morning to open
Yep.
up the Beyond Belief room. So there's like we had in December, there's going to be two rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Tasnua is
Tusnua. Okay.
upgrading their room to a capacity for 1,000, and Beyond Belief's 500
Mm-hmm.
capacity actually works now. That'll be great.
Good.
I was just at a Tasnua meeting. They were celebrating Zoom babies.
Oh,
Two women speaking who got sober during the pandemic, right?
yeah.
Which is just
Wow.
fantastic. Yeah.
So I was noticing on the schedule that it looks like there's an AA meeting. There's an event going on in one room, and then at that same time there'll be an AA meeting, and they kind of alternate so that if you don't feel like going to hear a particular speaker, you can just go to an AA meeting, and all the AA meetings are going to be from the host countries.
Exactly, exactly. And you know, it'd be great if there was more, but it's a fantastic start,
It
right?
is a
You
good
know,
start.
to offer alternative language meetings, and like you say, there's an English meeting somewhere else,
Hmm.
and then maybe we'll be able to fund translators and that sort of thing for future
Well, I
efforts
know there's been a
because,
lot of excitement from the planners for this,
yeah,
that they're very excited about being involved. Because, like you say, it's always been centered here in America,
yeah.
and they've never, it's difficult to come over here. Maybe someday we'll have an in-person meeting over there. It'd be fun to go over to Europe sometime for an in-person
I would
conference.
spend the extra money just to support something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's healthy for us too, because we've learned so much about their attitude towards AA and their approach to AA. And they've learned from us. We can learn from them, just as we should be learning from some of these other newer fellowships.
Yep.
Some of the smart recovery ideas are so practical and so obvious once you learn them.
Mm-hmm.
Why not incorporate that into AA, right? It's
Sure.
not like they're the competition.
Sure.
We're all part of the recovery community.
So, do you know anything about the author who's going to be speaking there? He worked at the prison in England. I know he wrote a book. His name is Sam Samsworth, and he was a former Strangeways prison officer.
No, I don't. I know there's two other authors there, Vince
Mm-hmm.
Hawkins,
Oh
who's
yeah,
written several books, and
Jeffrey
the
Munn.
Jeffrey Munn session will be 2 hours. Very popular book in the UK.
It is
And a
very
lot of
popular.
these meetings, I mean, they had well-established on-the-ground, face-to-face meetings, but they have just exploded in terms of online meetings. And like the Irish General Service is having a hard time. Well, how can we list you? You don't have an address, right?
Mm,
They're trying to find a way to,
yep.
say no
You know,
instead of a way to say yes, right?
I know from doing this podcast that in Ireland, they were pretty much strictly online in the beginning for a long time before they ever went face to face. They've been doing the online thing way before anyone else was doing any Zoom meetings. And that was a large part because of Kaylee. When she started her meeting, she did it that way because at that time they didn't have a meeting in the city that she was living in. And so what they did is different people in different parts of the country kind of got together online. They formed an online community, which still exists to this day. And I
Yeah.
see that Tusnua is extremely active. And does Tusnua, do they, all those meetings that they record, are those put out on a podcast or is that another?
Yes, on
They
the
are.
Tasnua, TUSNUA,
Yeah.
that means new beginning in Gaelic.
Oh,
.eu. There's podcasts of one-on-one interviews and some of the meetings where speakers were recorded. Uh,
that's kind
I
of
was
cool.
there just for a little levity between two great speakers. I had written a parody called "Addicted to Zoom," inspired by a topic that came up in a We Agnostics meeting. So
Mm-hmm.
I copped the Robert Palmer song and just changed the lyrics
Oh,
to
fun.
Zoom AA. So I performed that for them, and that's all going to go out on their website as well,
Cool.
just like you've done, just like the secularAA.org does.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think Joe froze up a little bit, but he'll come back. That happens sometimes when you're live and on the internet. So Joe will probably come back here pretty soon. I'm sorry, I didn't learn. Are you back, Joe? You just froze for
I
just a little
see
bit.
you and you see me. I could
I
hear you through that whole thing.
gotcha. Okay. Well, there you are. Okay. So, yeah, you were talking about Tusnua and what they're doing with the podcast. And again, I wonder if any of that would have happened if it not for COVID. I just really don't know. It's kind of a weird mixed blessing to have this traumatic event that spawned all these AA meetings and events online and all the creativity.
Yeah, all the creativity, like it is amazing to me about how uh, democratic AA is. We didn't wait for a notice from General Service in
Right.
terms of how to start an online meeting. Our home groups just saw that our fellow members were in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
We go, what's the Zoom thing? Let's figure it out. Have you ever been on a meeting? I've been on one, but I don't know how to
Right.
run one. Well, let's figure it out. Let's run a meeting.
Yeah.
Right. And then, so there were a dozen meetings in the first day, 1,000 meetings in the next day, and then 100,000 meetings, 3 days later. And I'm pulling these
I know,
numbers
but there's a
from my
lot
ass, but
of
yeah.
them. I was actually speaking today at the Secular Overeaters community
Yeah.
event. That was pretty cool. They by the way, that's an amazing group. They are
Yeah.
super organized. They are committed. They also have a tougher road to hoe than we did because their general service office is a lot more strict about how an OA meeting should be run.
Yeah.
So they have a much tougher time. But yeah, it was really great. And I don't know where I was going to go with that, but
No,
anyway.
I think it's great. One of the reasons that we originally made Beyond Belief an open meeting, well, there were two reasons. One is we met in the University of Toronto, and every meeting there was closed. Like
Yeah.
there were plenty of them, 3 or 4 a day. And what about, the students? What about the faculty, right? Why would here's an opportunity to let people know about AA,
Mm,
right? And they're not allowed in. I mean,
yeah.
it seemed absurd to me. And now every group has the right to do that, of course, and I'm not thinking or suggesting they're doing it wrong, but our thinking, looking at the meetings that were there, is we're going to have a meeting that the medical students, the social work students, the psychology students, there's a teachers college there. All of those people should know about AA,
Mm-hmm.
and feel free to drop in as many times as they want to get like we always had a lot of literature on our table just in case, right? And the other thing was we knew there were other fellowships, other 12-step fellowships where people suffered from the same issue, that I want the fellowship, I want the recovery program, I don't want the theology that comes with it.
Right.
And so not only were they welcome to attend, they were welcome to share in the meetings. And it's not like we were overwhelmed by sex and love addicts and
Mm-hmm. Right.
food addicts and everything else, but people were always welcome, and Al-Anon too would come as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always found that kind of funny about the whole controversy about non-alcoholics coming to AA meetings. I rarely ever see that happen, but I suppose it could, but it
Yeah,
would be very extremely rare anyway. So do you know there's going to be two meetings about the ICSA board. There's going to be one, I guess, just welcoming people to the conference, and then
yeah.
there's going to be like a wrap up at the end. Do you have any idea what that might be, or is that just going to be kind of off the cuff, kind of talking about the conference itself?
There's a couple of things. One is to understanding that over half of the people that attend there weren't even sober in 2014 and don't know the
Really?
history,
Oh
right?
my gosh, yeah. Okay.
So So it's an opportunity to sort of
Oh,
share the history, right?
yeah.
And let them know how vibrant it is and that sort of thing. So we're going to talk about the history, and we're
Oh,
going to invite engagement. Look,
okay.
we're going to have more on the ground conferences. You don't have to have experience running a conference. That's what the board's for.
Yeah.
You just need a dedicated on the ground committee that'll be the host committee, and
Right.
will help you with logistics and, you know, negotiating a hotel contract and
Yep.
whatever else, and more of these virtual conferences. Because even in post COVID, why can't we do this once or twice a
Absolutely.
year, right?
Absolutely. And we could even like maybe in the DC conference have some of the panels and so forth streamed, for people to.
I think we have to under the circumstances.
Yeah, true.
Some people will be travel shy,
Yep.
and even though the USA will be wide open by then, uh, barring a new wave
Right.
of pandemic, it doesn't mean the rest of the world will be.
True.
I'm hoping the Canada-US border will open and be uninterrupted, and I'll be able to fly or drive across.
Hmm.
Like I'm planning on driving even with the low airfares, just because if there's a last minute closure of the
Yeah.
borders or whatever, right?
We're going to
You know,
drive too. We
we're
like
not
driving. We,
stuck.
we drove to Toronto when the conference
Yeah.
was up there, and we really enjoyed it. We spent a couple of days in Detroit. So this time we're going to drive as well. And because I want to kind of tour the area around there anyway. I've not really been out there that often. So,
Well, let's you and I sort of take the lead on that. Only you hardly got to enjoy the Toronto conference because you were so busy with
yeah.
getting all of the panels recorded and all the speakers recorded. And I was busy too, but maybe we can find some other capable people.
Hmm.
And there are more than there were in 2018,
Yeah.
right? And we
Now,
can share
a
that
lot of
load and
that I was doing
teach
there
them.
was my way of social distancing back then before COVID.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
I could just stay busy, I don't have to really talk to anybody. It's terrible
Exactly.
to say that, but I am really pretty shy actually. So
I'm more introverted than people
yeah,
expect from me because
yeah,
I'm willing to be out there,
yeah,
but I would rather be in my writing studio doing
yeah.
research and thinking things through and comparing
Uh huh.
demographics to AA statistics, and that's what I want to do,
Yeah.
But like I mean, the only times I've been like I love songwriting, but the only times I've been in bands, it was because it was, for someone else, right? I
Mm-hmm.
had a band with my ex-wife, my son's mom. She was a lead singer. There was another female singer-songwriter who was Pam's sponsee, and a couple of my sponsees, and then a friend of mine from my home group was our drummer, right? And
Yeah.
so we put this band together for the Toronto Young People's Conference, and it was like AA service work, right? It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like limelight, but we did that for a couple of years. We would do cover songs and some of Kathy's songs. I wasn't really comfortable as a songwriter quite yet, and then my son started to write in a prolific way, and I knew plenty of artists. So we forewent a summer vacation, and we went to a recording studio and spent our money recording a record. I call it the 5 songs the drummer knew.
Funny.
But like we could have done more. We had plenty to work with, right? But
Yep.
the first 5 we did bed tracks for. We just sort of finished that, and that was our EP. And some people have a photo album for their summer holidays. My son had a CD
Well, I think
of
it's a good
original music.
idea going back to the history thing about the conference because, I wasn't even thinking about this, but we've got a lot more people aware of secular AA meetings now than ever before because of all these online meetings.
Yeah,
And if they knew about the history and not just the history, but the knowledge that has been gained since 2014, I
yeah.
mean, all these conferences that have been put on, that knowledge has been passed down. So, yeah, if you want to start a conference in your city, the ICSA people can help you. You run the conference, but if you want some expertise or some uh, learn from someone else's mistakes. You
Yeah.
know,
We're
that's what
not
they're
going
there
to
for.
tell anybody do's and don'ts, are we? But we are
Mm-mm.
going to offer our experience. We
Yep.
tried this, it didn't work as well as that,
Yep. Yep. And I
but
know
it
that people on the board that put on the Toronto conference have been really helpful to this conference, the Euro conference that will be coming up.
yeah, well, that's it. We just that's the AA muscle, right?
Yeah.
We learn that, right? And you were talking about hiding out in plain view by doing all of the recording at the Toronto conference. My first home group had one of the kitchens, which was a separate room with a bar,
Hmm.
and so I got to yeah, I'll make the coffee, right? Because then I got to get there early, right?
Right.
Set up the chairs, go plug the coffee pot in, and I would stay in there. And there was this counter between me and all of
Hmm.
those AA people, and
Smart.
and everyone would come and talk to me. Hi, Joe, how are you? When they're getting their coffee or
Right.
sandwich,
Right.
squares and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand that completely.
Also, this thing is free. This conference won't cost anything. There will pass a basket,
Yep,
a virtual basket where you can donate if you want to or if you can. But it is free for anyone. It's easy to get to. You can just go to the Secular AA website, and you can do that by going to aasecular.org or secularaa.org. They take you to the same place. And I did put a link into the chat here for how you can get to the website. And there it will have, if you go there, it will give you the room numbers, the Zoom IDs, and the passwords. Nobody has asked any questions, but if you do have any questions, you can post them here now. You can email the Secular AA board at seculara@gmail.com,
yep,
or you can leave messages here. You can go to the Secular AA Facebook page at AA, what is it, AA Secular Members on Facebook,
yep.
the Facebook page. Anywhere, if you have questions, and we'll be sure to get those answered.
There's
But I'm
also
excited about this.
seculara.eu.
Oh, yeah, that's a new site, seculara.eu, and
Yeah.
they have information there, don't they?
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, that's so neat. It is really fun to see this thing take off in Europe like this now.
Yeah.
And it's not like it wasn't going on before, but it's
Hmm.
just fun to meet them and see how excited they are. I mean, they're bringing a whole new energy, that I'm like, my energy is pretty much depleted. So it's kind of nice to have these guys come along with some energy and excitement about it. It's kind of livened things up quite a bit. So I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm going to try to get up extremely early if I need to attend some of those early morning ones. But
The
yeah.
way I look at it, it's the solstice. It's the longest day of the year.
Oh, is
So
it?
I might as well see all of it, right?
There
I'll
you
get
go.
up for 4 o'clock in the morning. It'll be earlier for you, right? It'll be more like
Hmm.
2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to do that or not, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
Well,
Yeah.
get there when you can, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's another
don't
nice thing about
kill
these
yourself.
conferences. You can just come and go if you want to,
Yeah.
it's not a big deal. You don't have to sit through the whole thing. And again, you just look at the flyer and you can figure out where you want to go. But again, if you do have any questions, just go ahead and email and post your messages there. But it's pretty straightforward. And we're getting to be old hands now about attending conferences online. So I don't think that people will have any trouble, you know?
Yeah, yeah, people have sort of learned their way around Zoom, and I
Yeah.
don't expect we'll have much in the way of trouble with Zoom bombers because, I mean, they're one of them's a brand new link that
Yeah.
hasn't been on any message boards, and
And everybody I've talked to, they've gotten pretty good at recognizing a Zoom bomber and throwing them out pretty quickly. So
yeah,
it's like gotten to be an old hat now, it seems.
yeah, that's
So,
right. They have a few new tricks, like they will impersonate members in the room, and
okay.
we have at times kicked out, legitimate AA
Oh,
members because
no.
they were saying uncharacteristic, disparaging comments about gender choices or
Oh,
race,
boy.
and so they got kicked out. And then, hey, that was my sponsor.
Hilarious. Well,
Yeah.
Joe, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this. It's good to get this out there. Now it's on social media. It's out
Yeah.
there where people can find it. And we still have a week to go. And again, if you have questions, just post it. You're going to get your questions answered.
Yeah,
But I
it's
think
like
it's,
5 days to go. It's
yeah,
yeah, coming
yeah,
up quick. Yeah.
yeah. All right. So I don't see any other questions. We've had a steady group of people, about, between 7 and 10 people here watching us. And it was nice to hear from, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, but Octung from Mexico. He wants to
Oh,
congratulate.
fantastic.
He wants to
That's
congratulate
another
and
thing
thank us
we
for our
need.
work.
It's great that the God word is in Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
and there should be more and more Spanish speaking meetings, just like there should be. It's great that there's young people's secular, there's Black, Indigenous, people of color secular, LGBTQ secular,
Wow.
and we should be in as many languages as there's a need for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thanks again, Joe. I really appreciate your help with this. It was great. And I guess we'll go ahead and conclude. And I don't think I have to play any music or anything, but it's like we don't have to say a prayer to say goodbye. We can say this, that's it. That concludes this info share for y'all.
Yeah.
So
If
stay
you're
in touch.
sober and you know it, clap your hands.
That's right.